What's up, guys? After an off week at arguably the perfect time for LSU due to COVID-19, it's hard to pick a better opponent to come into Baton Rouge for the Reeling Tigers than the South Carolina Gamecocks. In this video, let's take a look at the probable loss of Myles Brennan, and let's take a look at why South Carolina could be the perfect opponent for LSU. LSU coach Ed Orgeron has never come out and outright said that Myles Brennan is going to miss this Saturday's game, but I think it's a safe bet to expect that LSU is going to have to rely on a true freshman quarterback. If you couple the fact that 1-2 LSU was headed into a matchup with a mediocre SEC East team in front of 25,000 fans, it was always hard to drum up interest in this weekend's game. But sadly enough, the loss of Myles has kind of added a bit of interest to this game that was lacking before. And you don't have to look no further than freshman quarterbacks Max Johnson and TJ Finley. Now, I'm not quite sure how well it really fits here, but I think we all know the saying that if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. And I think the fact that both of them are unknowns at the college level make that a questionable fit with that saying. But I think the same rules still kind of apply to it. It's the same thought process I've had with the running backs ever since week 1 against Mississippi State. And that's just pick one guy and kind of go with it. It's fair to question Johnson and Finley sharing one role when the two players are so different. Max Johnson being a mobile left-handed quarterback, and TJ Finley just being a big right-handed pocket passer. To keep the confidence in both those guys, you're gonna have to script their series prior to the game so that one of those guys doesn't become discouraged that he was pulled after a bad drive when in reality, it was his time to come out regardless. It also raises more questions than just that. I'm assuming Max Johnson gets the start, but what happens if his first few scripted series doesn't go very well? And what if TJ Finley comes in and leads you on 2 scoring drives? Do you sit Johnson and let Finley run the rest of the game? Or what if the exact opposite happens and Max Johnson comes out firing from the start, but then you have to sit him for TJ Finley, who doesn't exactly light the world on fire? I think this is just a few reasons why I would prefer them just kind of picking one guy and letting a guy run with it. Now let's take a look at the South Carolina offense and why I think they're a great opponent to be coming into Baton Rouge this weekend. I think we can all comfortably say that it's been the LSU defense that's kind of let down the team so far. But I really think that it's a blessing that a South Carolina offense that you really can't call anything more than average, maybe even mediocre, coming into Baton Rouge. They do rank 6th in the SEC in scoring and points per game with 30.5, 6th in rushing with 162 yards per game, and 6th in yards per carry at 4.2 yards per game, and 6th in yards per carry at 4.2 yards per carry. The Gamecocks are led on offense by surprise breakout running back Kevin Harris. Harris received just one Power 5 offer coming out of high school to South Carolina, obviously. Harris emerged partially because of some injuries to his teammates in the backfield, but he ranks 3rd in the SEC in rushing yards and 2nd in carries, and he's found the end zone 7 times in just 4 games. Now, one thing I do think could be a positive for LSU's defense is South Carolina really doesn't do all the pre-snap motion that teams like Missouri, Mississippi State, and Florida do. They more prefer to just kind of line up and run right at you. And rather than trying to air it out all over the field, they really prefer to just take care of the football and try to rely on their defense. South Carolina really doesn't try to spread you out and throw the football all over the field, instead preferring to just run it and try to rely on their defense to win games, which leads to quite the anemic passing offense as they rank 11th in the SEC in passing yards and touchdowns with only 4 on the season. Now, that's not to say that the Gamecocks lack threats on the outside, as wide receiver Shi Smith has really emerged this season. Smith is a 5'10 speedster with the ability to make people miss after the catch. And draft scouts feel there really aren't very many players in college football that have helped their draft status as much as Shi Smith this offseason. Defensively, they're a little bit more stout than they are offensively, particularly through the air where they rank 7th in passing yards allowed at 243.5. They're 4th in completion percentage, 4th in passing touchdowns allowed, and 5th in quarterback rating. Junior cornerback Israel Mukuamu returns this week after missing the Auburn game with a groin injury. Prior to the season, some media outlets believed that Mukuamu, along with South Carolina's best NFL prospect J.C. Horn, who is the son of former Saints receiver Joe Horn, made up the best cornerback duo in the SEC. J.C. Horn is a tough cornerback that excels in bumper run coverage, who had 2 picks last week at Auburn. And both corners are believed to be an early round pick in the NFL draft this coming season, and Horn may even be a 1st rounder. With all that said, South Carolina is prone to giving up the big play through the air, allowing the 2nd most completions of 20+ yards in the SEC. Prediction time, call me a homer, Call it a gut feeling, but I do feel like both quarterbacks, specifically Max Johnson, is going to come out and have a pretty good game for a true freshman quarterback. I'm hoping LSU establishes the run a little more than they have so far this season, especially with John Emery. And because of some of the things I laid out defensively, like South Carolina's lack of motion pre-snap, I do think you're going to see a better performance from the LSU defense this week. Now, are they going to hold South Carolina to, to 7 points and 200 yards? No, I think you can still see South Carolina, put up some points, put up some yards. They are averaging 30.5 points a game this season. But you're not going to, I think I said this after Mississippi State, and I actually turned out to be wrong, but, the LSU's defense here, they're not going to go all the way up here in a single week or 2 weeks. Building blocks, it's going to take some time if they ever get there. In terms of score, again, call me Homer if you want. I'm going to go LSU 37, South Carolina 27. Go ahead and drop your thoughts down in the comments. Drop your prediction down in the comments. Any bold takes, any bold predictions, anything you got, your favorite song, your favorite food, anything. Drop it in the comments. It helps me, it helps get the video out. Be sure to leave a like. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for weekly LSU videos just like this one. And as always, go Tigers, and see you guys next week. Later.